I'm just going to be straight up and say this was the best year of my life. So many things happened outside of fishing, but more importantly, inside of fishing. I caught more fish than I ever would have hoped. Literally this time last year, I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to beat this. And like a year later, who knows what's going to happen in 2019. I didn't think I was going to be able to beat 2017, but I crushed it with 2018. All of you guys who've been watching me for a while, thank you so much for the support. A few of you guys have been around for years. All the people that I met this year and previous years, a lot of you guys have helped me so much this year. You know who you are. Thank you so much. I can't go on and say everybody. It's a lot of people. I've really met some incredible people this year. What else? Oh, I got so much to say. I want to try to keep it as short as possible. I've had a lot of technical difficulties this year as well. That's why you guys haven't been seeing as many videos as I would have hoped. I'm going to try to get out as many as possible. But yeah, let's just get on with the video. I'm pretty sure you guys are going to like this. I'm just going to review all my favorite moments from this year. There's a lot. So stay tuned and I'll see you pretty soon.
Oh my.
To kick it off with number 10, we got summer trout fishing. My first trout of the summer was a 23-inch wild brown with my buddy Ryan, and then 15 minutes later I caught a 27-incher, and that 27-incher is still my biggest trout to this day. That was a great way to kick off the summer. And then later with Sky Vrusio, NJ Angler, you may have seen his videos. We did a lot of trout fishing out in the Poconos in Pennsylvania. We found some absolutely incredible locations, caught some huge brook trout, ran into some bears, and pretty much just had an incredible experience with him out there. I've never done anything like that. And even for him, he's just like a huge trout fisherman, and he said it was the best trout fishing he's ever seen. I mean, I agree. We would have days of 70-plus fish. And then later in the summer, I went out with my buddy Stefano, NJ Trout Guide on Instagram, and we caught some nice rainbows and a couple browns as well. You know, I'm actually going to change it up because I just realized that this summer trout expedition was kind of multiple days, but I'm going to switch 9 and 10 up. So basically number 10 is the shark fishing day that I spent with Mike from Ultimate NJ Outdoors. And we went down to the beach and we slayed these giant, I wouldn't say giant, but I mean as far as New Jersey goes, they're pretty big sharks. I caught my first ever dusky shark and my first ever butterfly ray. And he caught his personal best sandbar shark. And you know, this is my first ever experience really surf fishing for large sharks, and I enjoyed it so much. The fact that just one day was able to make it on this list is pretty impressive because these were some serious fish, and I got a real fight out of these guys. Also lost a really nice one, which kind of pisses me off, but you can't really complain. Coming home with new species and 2 of your biggest fish of your life.
You want me to try to land it? Or?
This has got to be a brown town.
Yes.
Oh!
What is that? Drown?
It's a brown.
Oh, yes! Holy shit, that's such a giant.
Wait, guys.
That's such a giant.
Oh my god!
Next up would be the ice fishing season back in January and February. The boys and I were hitting a few lakes, and we were starting to pattern some fish, and none of us really knew much about ice fishing, so to be able to figure out walleye, tiger trout, and even giant wild brown trout through the ice was just absolutely incredible. We cannot wait till the next ice season. The big standout catch for us, it was more of a team effort. It felt like a team effort, even though I caught it. It was a 24-inch wild brown that we caught. I was jigging a Swedish pimple in 37 feet of water on the bottom, and it took me 5 minutes to reel us in on 4-pound test. And when we finally got it, we were absolutely ecstatic. That was one of the best moments pretty much of my life, just to share that with a bunch of great dudes on the ice. It was pretty freaking incredible.
Yes. Yes.
Big hen.
Coming in at number 7, we have my my Florida trip in March, late March to early April. It was short and sweet, only about 3 days, I think. It was a lot of fresh water. I did go for snook and jacks one time, and I actually saw a 50-inch snook, but that's besides the point. What I'm really getting at was the bass fishing in southwestern Florida was absolutely out of this world. That is the only place I would ever religiously bass fish if I were ever to actually bass fish. I'm not much of a bass fisherman, but in one day or one evening actually, I hit a dirty 30, which is in bass terms a 30-pound bag. Every single fish on a chatterbait I found a money pond out in the middle of freaking nowhere. I caught an 8-pounder, a 6, a bunch of 5s. It was one of the most incredible experiences of my life, and it was the weirdest area I've ever fished. I have to disclose location, but that was a very memorable trip for me, I gotta say.
That's what I came here for. That is an 8-pound bass if I ever see one. Oh my god, I'm falling, dude. Oh my god, dude. Dude, get your GoPro, get your GoPro.
Rewind about a month, and Sean Medvar and I traveled down to Florida to fish with Brendan Bellato and Island Life Fishing for a few days. It was what I would call a successful failure. We had 2 great days, a decent third day, and then on day 4, it was the most absolutely absurd peacock bite Sean and I had ever seen. I mean, we don't even fish for peacocks that much, but by anyone's standards, I mean, we were catching 3, 4, we caught 2 5-pound peacocks as well. And then, like, someone hit a switch, and then it all just turns to shit. I mean, I'd fall in the water, lose my GoPro. We literally packed up to go to the airport. I had my clothes on that was wearing on the airplane, and then at some random place near the airport, I lost like a 25-pound or more snook that literally spooled me. Yeah, so it was such a memorable time for us, but at the end, it kind of just sucked. But seriously, we just absolutely slayed the cichlids, and basically everything we targeted we caught, and definitely one of the best times of the year, that's for sure.
Big carp right here. Get lower. Don't throw this one. Dude, this corner was money, wasn't it? Oh. And this is the big one, yeah. He's got leeches in his mouth. You're gonna have to come on. Long fight, dude. Oh my god! He's like 20 pounds, dude. Okay, don't just let him run. Let him run. Dude, he's like 20 pounds. Keep that rod bent. Keep that rod bent. Keep that rod bent. There you go. Oh, this is gonna be a long fight, dude. This guy just crushed it at my feet. Alright. I'm like basically like 2 for 9 right now. I missed like 7 fish, caught 2. That's a nice 4 or 5 pound NJ bowfin right there.
Ooh, coming in at number 4 was 2 different trips that I went on with Sky Verusio, an NJ angler, and his good buddy Will, who I became pretty good friends with the time that I spent with him. We went up to New York State to target the elusive, let me change that, not so elusive salmon. They run up the rivers in great numbers up there. There are certain different areas for them. We didn't really do much research, but we still caught them. Our first trip was in the last week of September, and we caught king salmon, coho salmon. The kings were absolutely gigantic, some of the biggest and most powerful freshwater fish I've ever caught. Some were nearing 25 pounds, or more actually. And the second trip was mid to late October. We went to the Finger Lakes, and we caught some Atlantic salmon. And I actually prefer that. I think all 3 of us actually prefer that, because it was a much more legit kind of fishing, and we're using much lighter tackle. And that's something I would definitely do again. I'm not sure if I would do the king salmon again, because those fish are basically running out the river to die. Those Atlantic salmon are still alive when you catch them, so that's a big difference, and I prefer catching the Atlantics.
literally on top of mine.
Oh, like that?
There we go.
As how it goes with my last 2 year reviews, the final 3 moments are always the hardest to choose from. Coming in at number 3, we've got the summer trip. Sean and I went down to Florida to fish with Island Life. This is actually the 3rd time we fished with them this year. And him and his dad, they're both some of the best people we've ever met. They took us out on their boat, and when I say we slayed, we flippin' slayed. The rough weather didn't let us get out to the ocean. We were gonna go for mahis originally, but it kept us inshore, and we put a really serious hurting on the big jacks, big barracudas, big lemon sharks, and we pretty much got everything we wanted. Sean got a really big tarpon as well. I jumped a couple giant ones, but I'll get my revenge eventually. The lemon shark was the biggest fish I've ever caught, and the barracuda is probably the sickest fish I've ever caught. So in basically the same 2 hours I caught those fish, and on top of that, some giant jacks and a snook the day before as well. So that was seriously an unbelievable trip for Sean and I.
Oh God. I think I got him again, Sean. I think so. Yo, relax. Calm down. Don't hurt me off, please. Dude, I want to get...
You know, Sean Edvar and I have done a lot of crazy things. We found some serious bites for a couple years now, but the one serious bite that pretty much made everything we've ever done worth it was the herring spawn this May. We basically broke New Jersey, if that makes any sense. We were catching 40-inch pike, hybrids, walleye, trout. Literally, when these herring came up shallow, everything was following them. Even giant carp too. I know that sounds crazy, but we were catching 20-pound carp as well. Basically what I gotta say to that is the most unbelievable bite I had ever seen. If it's even close to how it was this year, for 2019, I'm gonna be very happy. Hopefully we can beat. You always aim to beat the year before, but the way we hit those fish is pretty much you can't really do that again. That was, you know, it's hard for me to speak words to say how hard we've worked for the fish that we've caught, but you know, it's so rewarding in the end.
I can feel me reeling in this fish.
Before we hit number 1, I'm just going to go over some honorable mentions that could have possibly made the list, but were not quite as epic as the 10 mentioned. But so number 1, the grass carp that I caught earlier this May. He was my biggest freshwater fish ever, still to this date. 35 pounds, 43 inches long. The fish actually had a broken back, so it was only like a 3 or 4 minute fight on 6 or 8 pound test. I can't remember, but I saw him eat it, and that was one of the most epic catches of the spring for sure. Next up would be my 2 Washington trips down, one in July and one in November, both on the Washington, D.C., fishing with Nick Lee on Instagram, Nick Lee Fishing. And we targeted longnose gar, snakehead, blue cats, pretty much everything the Tidal Basin has to offer. Broke some new PBs, caught some new species. Definitely a lot of fun down there. I'm going to spend a lot more time in DC and actually film, because I did absolutely no filming when I was down there. Number 3 was the pre-spawn bass season. I barely focused on bass this spring. I was mainly focused on everything else that swims. I'm not much of a bass fisherman, but when I am fishing for bass, I'll throw power baits, and power baits meaning like power fishing baits such as crankbaits and spinnerbaits and stuff. And it got to the point where I was just catching 5-pounders left and right, and it was kind of becoming a joke. And yeah, that was a lot of fun, to be honest, but that's the really only time of year I'll bass fish. Next up would be the Belize trip. It was not quite as I expected it to be, but it's by far the most incredible location I've ever fished. The rainforest was incredible. The ocean was incredible. I caught some barracudas, some seriously awesome looking tropical fish. And then you've got the cichlids and catfish and stuff in the rainforest. So that was almost unbeatable. There's a couple things that could have went better, such as the conditions, but that was a lot of fun. And then finally, the guided trip with Brandon Bellato. We owed him. That's all I'm gonna say. We're the lemon sharks and all that, everything he put us on. So we took him up to New Jersey and we knocked off everything that he wanted to catch on his list in literally 2 days. He wanted pike, hybrid, smallmouth bass, pretty much everything you can really catch in New Jersey. We got big brown trout too, big rainbow trout, and in 2 days we slayed him. That was an incredible opportunity to put a serious fisherman on a bite that he's never experienced before. And finally, we have made it to number 1. This happened to be the greatest catch of my entire life. The muskie is known as a fish of 10,000 casts, and I caught a 50-incher on my 3rd cast in Lake of the Woods fishing with Pete Mena, who is literally the best muskie fisherman in the world. I was invited to go up there to fish with him and film a show, and that episode's coming out pretty soon. I'm going to make sure you guys are able to see that. There's a lot of incredible footage on there. I don't know how many times I've said incredible this video, but seriously, this is some really cool footage that should be out. Caught a bunch of muskies, a bunch of huge pike, caught my personal best pike, multiple muskies. But that one in particular was just, seriously, that whole fight was a blur. Like, I had no idea what was actually going on, and once that thing was in the net, it's like, oh my gosh, did that really just happen? From ice fishing to summer muskie fishing in Lake of the Woods, I would say it's a pretty insane year. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and are prepared for what is to come, because hopefully there will be some good stuff that is coming soon. I pray the fishing gets better, because it hasn't been great recently, but all I gotta do is just look back on this year, and in particular that Canada trip, because that was very, very sick.